Can we come back together a little bit? I don't want to break. See, I'm loving this over here. Yeah, the transatlantic bonding. But can we bring it back to the center? I promise you, it will not be death by PowerPoint. It will be quick. The slides will be available, so don't worry about taking notes or anything like that. So, because I like to talk to my people. So, ladies, gentlemen, are we ready? All right. So I promised you I'll tell you who I was. Apart from creating a lot of confusion with my Nigerian sisters. I know, everybody assumes I'm Igbo. The name is Igbo. I have the name because of the meaning, because I am my father's first daughter, but I am actually from Trinidad and Tobago. Yes. And in Trinidad, many of us have African names, and usually names that come from Nigeria in particular, the Igbo and Yoruba tribes, and we also have lots of Ghanaian names. So, Adana is one of the most popular names in Trinidad, in fact. So you have lots of Adanas, Ayanas, Aishas, and you have lots of Kofis and Kojos and Kwezis, and and Abiola is another popular name in Trinidad. So there's many of us here. So it always creates confusion because people come up to me and they try to speak to me in Igbo, and I look at them and they're like, this one, she's been westernized. That's what they assume. But they don't realize that I actually don't know the language as yet. But it is my ambition to travel to Nigeria so I can see where my name comes from and understand a lot more about the heritage. So that is some about my name. So that will get rid of that confusion. So about who I am. So I work in our UK health services. I am considered an officer of the government. I have responsibility, so I have a very, very long, lengthy title, which is why I didn't put it there, but just for the sake of it, I will share. So I am a Deputy Director of Nursing for Professional and Systems Development for one of our 7 regions in the UK, and that is the Southeast. I am also the Regional Program Director for Autism, Learning Disabilities, Mental Health, and Special Education Needs in that same Southeast region. So we do that. And it's essentially, so I work for what is the equivalent of the Ministry of Health in the UK, so just for context. Right, so now we've got past that. Why I'm here in Ghana is because I love Ghana. I love Africa, and part of the things that drives me is my ambition to see healthcare policy and practice improved on a global scale. And I think it's really important as well, the learning that comes from the Africas and learning that comes from Europe, that too is incorporated, because I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other to help to improve the experience of care for everybody. The other reason why I'm really passionate about it, because I do this stuff in Trinidad, I do it here, I do it in the UK as well, because I think we are the ones who hold a lot of change and improvement and high quality care in our hands, and in terms of the engagement we have. And one of the strengths, which I'm going to talk about, is us and our sense of community. The fact that you are here, your desire to learn and change and improve the services, the fact that there is recognition now where it needs to be by our government ministers, our policy makers, those who have the money to support in terms of funding, and the world is changing. If you even think about the landscape for autism, learning disability, and mental health care, probably in the last 5 years, it has come a long way. And I think one of the things that really needs to change to underpin that, I mentioned it before, it's about our culture, the way we think and we view those who live with autism and learning disabilities and mental health, and how they cope, and especially the value that we believe these individuals can add to society. So I think it's really important for us to be looking at things in a context of strength. So I will take us through. Jay, if you can go to the next slide, please. So go to slide 3 and we'll start there. So I'll just give you a brief about what we're going to talk about. So it will really be about that strengths-based approach with working with those with autism and learning disabilities. As I say, I promise you I will share the slides. There's no secret, and if you do want to reach out to me, you can after, so don't feel like you're under pressure. But I do want you to listen and engage. So, and ask questions. I don't mind being interrupted. You can ask me questions. So, okay, so we know what autism is. And I just put one of my favorite memes I've seen with it there just to describe what it is about. And a lot of people say they feel that. It's really unique. I like to call those who have a diagnosis of autism my snowflakes, because every snowflake is delicate, it's unique, it's beautiful, and also when it's falling and nice, we enjoy it in the UK, but you have to remember that you have to know how to work with snow so that you can enjoy it too. And it's the same as people with autism. You have to understand what is their experience of the world through assessment and diagnosis, so you can create plans and support mechanisms for them. So, I'll move us on. So I promised you I'll be quick. I did. So I'm going to stick to that. So, again, another one of my favorite words are, because when we talk about this, we are really focusing on what individual strengths are, because we know some of our snowflakes with autism have some very special skills. For some people, it might be about their understanding of music, it might be about numbers, it might be about recall. They have so much amazing skills that you could uncover for business, but you have to remember this is a spectrum. So that might not be the same for everybody, but I challenge you, every single individual has a strength. It's about you finding that and understanding what that strength is. And I know Hannah might be talking about it. When I first met her and Rex, her son, the people who were working with Rex didn't understand his strengths. There was this idea that perhaps he wasn't communicating and couldn't communicate. It's our problem. We didn't know how. So when we worked out the best way to communicate with him, then we were able to understand better what his needs were, how we could support him, and we went from a situation where he was needing really intensive support to him now functioning, being more independent, doing a lot more things, and that is because there's a support and a care plan that is focused on his strengths and getting the best from him. And that's the same that we need to do for every single person. So I challenge you. Everybody that you encounter where you recognize that there may be an issue that you want to monitor, Dr. Mo talked about some of the signs and the symptoms, and we could share some of those with you, because I do feel there are some culturally appropriate signs that you need to be looking for in your loved ones. You can then develop these programs of support for them. So I'll move us on. Right. So as I say, when you're thinking about strengths-based, if you look at this here, look at what we have. Look at what we can work with. When we were with Rex and we discovered so much that we could do with him, so much value he can add, he cooks, he goes to church, he does everything, and that wasn't obvious before. So when you're looking at deficits, you're always going to be at a loss. And I'm not saying that you ignore those deficits. Let me be very clear. You need to know them, you need to understand them, because they will inform how you devise that care and support package. It will help you evaluate the impact of that care and support package. But also, what we are doing is we know they're there, we know what we're counteracting, but we're making sure that we capitalize on enhancing the strengths to help us mitigate against some of those deficits. Abo? Amen. All right. So, let's talk about some of these strengths that I mentioned before for some of our loved ones with autism. So we have asset orientated. So as I say, when we are doing these assessments, and these are the principles that you need to work on, this is like your basic. There are other elements that you could choose, but these are the ones that I recommend that we look at from a basic level. So asset orientated, so you're identifying it and you're leveraging it. That's what I was saying to you. So this comes from those assessments. So when you get them, you take your time, and it's not a 5-minute assessment. You've got to take your time and go through a holistic assessment. So you're looking at their abilities, you're looking at activities of daily living, you're looking at education, you're looking at overall physical health, because we can't forget that, because that's a really important element, and sometimes most people overlooked it, or in those who can't advocate for themselves. So you do that whole person assessment, and from that assessment, you start looking at individualization. So we do it bespoke. We all like bespoke stuff. I'm sure every single one of you have had something tailored for you before.
And you know how good you feel when you put that on and it fits your body just right and you look really good when you're appearing at your event. Same thing. So you have a bespoke support package for that person. They're going to stand up tall, they're going to be more empowered, they're going to be able to work better, and you capitalize on the strengths that they have. The next thing you do, collaboration. Dr. Mo talked about it. That's why we're here. We need to get together. So when we talk about collaboration, is you bring in other key stakeholders, professionals, support networks to help you build that good support package. So that could be for us. When we're thinking about Africa, that could be your pastor, it could be your imam, it could be the health worker who somebody's seen at a clinic, it could be the nurse or the doctor that you see at the university hospital. You visit it could be your teachers in school, it could be the person at the daycare, it could be your auntie, grandma. All of these people are key people to support the care, growth, and delivery of individuals. It doesn't always have to be somebody with letters behind their name or doctor in front of it. It doesn't have to be a clinician, it doesn't have to be a trained professional, because all of us have a responsibility to support. And if you learn and you understand what is needed, you too can form an integral part of that person's care. So in the UK, our focus is looking at that collaboration. So when we do care reviews, we invite every single person that has a hand in that individual's care to support how we design those bespoke care packages. So, strengths amplification. As I said to you before, when you know what this person is good at, so for example, it could be art. So you decide that your way of providing support and therapy and engagement and education might be via using those art sessions. And you use therapy, and I have an example of that later on I will share with you. And last but not least, it's about your language. Language is everything. How we speak to people, how we label things, how we describe them, how we address them. That is important. So when you're speaking to somebody, it's about how are we going to do this together? Let's look at what's great about this. So you're ensuring that your language matches your purpose. So it is positive, action-focused, uplifting, enabling. These are the kind of languages that you want to be using with your loved ones, and you speak to them how you want to be spoken to. All right? So, I'll move us on. We're nearly there, I promise. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. So, I mentioned already about identifying those strengths and how you go about doing it. And I know I have covered these areas, but I've included it because I wanted to be sure that when you leave here, you understand the framework that we need to function from. All right, so those are the areas that I've described, and I shared with you about how you can go about doing it, given some practical examples in the interest of time. Right, so I talked a little bit about some of the interventions, and I told you about the one that relates to art. So that is about that special interest utilization. So again, it's about understanding what that individual likes. I have had persons who have enjoyed music, and because they've enjoyed music, we've used music as a way to engage with them. We, as I say, act as a way to engage with them, right? And I said, when I mentioned about the communication, again, that is critical to how you engage and you speak. So it's about ensuring that your language matches your purpose. Your language is uplifting. Your language is positive. Your language is focusing on the good. Okay, strength-focused education, again. Different mechanisms and methods to have the same outcome. So, you know it's art, so you get your numbers and you encourage them to paint by numbers. So they will learn numbers whilst they're doing something that they enjoy. So it's another way of incorporating. It's just one example. There's many, many examples. For some children, it might be play. So my nephew, he likes cars. So if we want to engage him, we get the cars and we talk to him. So want to learn the colors? You put the cars out. What color is this car? What color is that car? He will quicker engage with that than he probably would if you just showed him the colors on a chart somewhere. Yeah. Exactly. So it's about remembering what makes them bloom and blossom and light up, and using that as a mechanism and a driver for you to achieve your objective. There's always a way, always a way. And the only way to find it is through assessment and your program building. Right. And strengths-based therapy, again, we recognize that many of those who have a diagnosis of autism may also have co-occurring needs. So that may be mental health, it might be something else. So if we need to engage in a therapeutic intervention, we're using the same methodology to drive that intervention. So I said we could do art therapy, we could do dance therapy, we could do play therapy. The list is long, so don't limit yourself. And I can assure you, many of these therapeutic mechanisms are available for you to see online. You can see people demonstrating them from very good, reliable, empirical sources on YouTube to show you how you can do it, and what changes you can make to your environment to support a loved one or somebody that you're caring for. Next page. Okay, so as I say, there are benefits, and these are some of the core benefits that I wanted to flag with you today about using that strengths-based approach. And I talked about empowering, enabling, and uplifting. So you do this and you enhance self-esteem and confidence. You let somebody know, I can. You unleash their superpower. You help them to understand they matter, they can make a difference to the world, they can add value to our communities. And this is what using that approach can do. We talk about motivation and engagement. I mentioned about my nephew in the cars. I want him to learn colors. I get the cars, he's engaged, he's motivated. I bring a book, he might shrug his shoulders and walk off. So you use that person's strengths to get the objective that you want, from both sides actually. Improve social connections. Again, if somebody's going to dance therapy, it's an opportunity for them to make friends, perhaps develop some social skills that might have not been there if they were in a different environment. So it's really important to understand the bigger picture value of using a different approach to education and engagement. And sustainable progress. So again, if you're capitalizing on what is already there, you're enhancing what is already there, there is a probability, higher probability, that you would have a sustained objective here. But the important thing with everything, which I probably didn't add, is around continuity. So you need to make sure that if you start this, you continue it. It's a progressive, iterative, ongoing process. So it's not one and done. So this is why it's really important that you're changing your language, you're changing your approach, and it's a whole way of being and doing so that you ensure that everybody else around you is adopting the same methodology as well. Right, and last but not least, empowerment and autonomy. We have to remember, not because somebody has a label and a diagnosis, whatever that label is, means that they do not have the power to say and do things. I have a really, really great video on, I think it's on my LinkedIn or somewhere, where for Down Syndrome Day, there was a young girl there talking about how her parents didn't want her to have boyfriends and didn't want her to learn Shakespeare and all of this stuff. And she could do it because she is able to function, she's high functioning, she's really brilliant. And people take for granted that because she looks a particular way that it means that perhaps she's not able to do things, and it's about us. So we have to work on changing our mindsets, our methodology, changing society, changing cultural beliefs, changing the norms, and we need to, really, really think about how we do things differently so that we are empowering and making autonomous individuals out there. She's an actress and a model and making her own money, and your parents are like, oh, you can't have a boyfriend because you've got Down syndrome, but you can kiss people on camera? Make it make sense. All right? So it's just about changing our mindsets and our beliefs. So I'll move us on. So I told you about the case study. I'm not going to go through it now, but I put it there because, again, I want to make sure that you have a lived example that you can take away so you can use in your own environment and adopt and adapt if you need to, because that's what we are doing here at the Reyo Foundation. So it's making sure that each one teach one. That is my motto. So when you go away, you have to remember that. So you need to share because there's room for all of us. And the more of us know and understand about how we do things in a different way, it's the better experience for our loved ones and those we care about in society, and for the most vulnerable as well. So I'll move us on to the next slide, Jay. Okay, so we're to the end, right? I told you it would be quick, and I told you it would be painless. I hope you have certainly learned something. So to recap, It is an overall process and a way of being. So you need to change the beliefs, change the culture, change the approach, change your language, and make sure that you're doing it using a few things. So it is change your mindset, absolutely. So it is assessment, analysis, care planning, and intervention that is collaborative and supportive, and most importantly, continuous. And if you note, many of the things I spoke about are things that are relatively inexpensive to implement. So this is why I'm saying to you, so in the UK, let's talk a lot about money and investing money. Yes, we need money to do everything. We need money to train professionals. We need money to do many things. But there are many things that we can do as individuals right now that can make a difference, that is not as expensive as devising a whole therapy center. So there's ways to start. So we can start. And I think one of the things that really engages those and helps you to get sponsorship and support for what you're doing is to be able to demonstrate the benefits of those interventions. So you start small with a little pilot, and then you demonstrate the outcomes that you can achieve, and then you share with your investors about what you could do more of if you had the investment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, I'll go? Amen. All right. So, we're to the end, so I will stop here. Any questions, please? Shout to me. You look like you have a big one.
So I was just thinking out loud that if we focus on just the child's strength, would it not create an opportunity whereby the child would end up missing out from other things might not enjoy doing? Like, for example, assuming you have a child that loves cooking,
yes,
but it's physical exercises.
Yes.
Now, would the child not miss out on the benefits of swimming and maybe other physical exercises?
That is a really good question. And I think that's why it's really important to think about balance in all things. That is actually my word for 2024. So, what we do with the assessment process is about establishing those strengths and those weaknesses or areas for improvement, if you want to call it that. So if you know that this is something that they don't enjoy, but it's something that is necessary, you can then incorporate that in terms of rewards. So you could then introduce motivating factors to encourage engagement in the things that they may like a little bit less, so that the benefits would be being able to enjoy something that they enjoy a little bit more. So this is where you have to be able to modify your treatment methodology to ensure that you encapsulate everything. So it's not about creating deficits, it's about understanding what the strengths are you need to build on, what adjustments you need to make to your approach to that individual, but you don't neglect the areas that need the improvement. You then use it to look at innovative ways to encourage engagement with those areas so that you're getting that overall balance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Any more questions?
No question, but I think you answered him. I was just about to try and give a response to what he said, but I think you've answered. Because basically that's what, in behavior therapy, we are using the person's motivations and their strength in order to leverage them to do the things that they don't necessarily feel good at.
Yes.
And with motivation, you can do anything. And that's the basic principle. We are all motivated to do what we do.
Absolutely.
Either for your income or for more knowledge.
Exactly.
It's always motivation driving everything.
And when you think about it, remember when you were going to school, I don't know about you, but I know I didn't want to get up every day to go to school and do anything, but I know if I don't do it, I have my mom and dad who might do a smack or two. I'm going to miss out on my summer holidays because I'm going to have to spend them in summer school if I don't do well. So I was motivated to get up and go to school and make sure that I stayed at the top of the class because I don't want to spend my summer in summer school. So we all have carrots. And as my wonderful colleague said, you know, in everything that we do, there's motivation. You know, we have to get up and go to work because we are motivated by the pay, right? So it's about recognizing what will be the motivation for that individual and structuring your support to encourage them to engage. Awesome, right. So any more before we move on? And as I say, you know, I'll put my contact information there. If you want to reach out and get in touch on Twitter, on LinkedIn, wherever, you can message me and, you know, we can catch up. But as I say, it's here. So I'll share. I promise I'll share.
I promise I will share all the contacts. So you can reach out people. If you Google me, you just Google my name, they will come up, I promise you. There's a link tree there somewhere. It's got nothing to do with me. There's an amazing person that does all this stuff. Me, I'm useless. I'm not even gonna lie. Listen, I am useless. It's only the other day I realized how to do DMs, okay? Don't judge me. Yeah, everybody has their weaknesses. Right? But honestly, you know what? I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for your time, for your attention, for coming here. Because as I say, it is people like us in the room that is making a real difference for those who are neurodiverse, those with additional needs, those with mental health challenges that they're living with. Because we are the change that we want to see. So thank you, everybody, and enjoy your rest. I'll see you all tomorrow. Saturday, yes, I'll see you all on Saturday. I'll be there Saturday.